I'm an average retail investor today. I look at Coinbase, I look at Binance, I look at SwissBorg. I don't know what I can trust anymore. Centralized exchanges. What are some green flags that the average retail investor can look for?
Yeah, I think so. That's a very great question. What I always say is first understand people and the mission that's behind the founders, right? If you have one of the most integrity, sorry, one of the how do I say it in English, but you guys really work
Integrity.
because integrity.
There we
You
go.
really have both integrity, you both brothers. You're here because you have a strong community. People follow you because not only because they like you, because they trust you. And I think so. You truly try to bring edutainment to the next level. It's not about, oh, I told you yesterday you should have pumped that position. I told you yesterday you should have dumped that position. Oh, you should have listened to me. You know, those influencers, there's many of them. You're definitely not those. And there's different other people that do that. And I think so that's one of the first things to understand the mission of any of these companies. And if the mission does talk to you, I think so is a good thing. The mission of FTX was
And one thing,
building
Sai, on
trading.
the people as well. Sai, one thing on the people side as well is anonymous is not good, guys. Anon or people where you do not know where they live, or they are maybe not using the real name. Those are things. Those are the basics of due diligence in finance. Is really who are these people? What is their background? Do they have a police file, or have they been arrested, or have they been involved in any type of? That's the core layer of. And that's why, like, when you're into some of the DeFi projects, or I'll call them on chain, I want to call them DeFi. There's a lot of anons, and that's a problem when it comes to trust. But go ahead, Sai. Sorry.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, the second thing is the team. I think so. Once you talk to you understand the mission of the company. I think so. Then it's the team itself, and you see, like, for example, Aave. Well, Stani has been putting his face a long time in front of Aave, and since ETH land to today, right? And it's a regulated company today as well. Aave, people don't realize that, and they're pushing towards, of course, decentralization and decentralized finance. One is the best application, but he put his face as well, so that's something that's very important. And who are the backers, the company behind it, all of that. That's something that's very important. Coinbase, we know who's the company behind. We know it's very well regulated. We know that the beneficial owners, we know their auditing is done in the perfect way. So these are different things then obviously to understand. If you're trusting a foreign company that doesn't have any representation in your own country and is not regulated at all, well then you might face one day, a big hack or internal hack or something that flies away with your money. And
And the
maybe
regulation,
the
just one thing, Sai, on the regulation side, guys, one thing that's really important is that you're regulated where your offices are. You're not in some sort of, Caribbean islands, but then you're hiding in Hong Kong. You know what I mean? So the regulatory standpoint, first of all, you need the right licenses. So we have the custody license, we have the exchange license. So by the regulators, they force us to segregate all assets. We're not allowed to hold users' assets. And by the way, one of the dodgy practices in crypto is being an exchange and the custodian. I mean, that's massive conflict of interest right there. You're not supposed to be that. In every exchange in history, there's always a trusted escrow to transact for you, right? So, and that's what we use, obviously, that when you're regulated, you have the right license, number one, or licensees at number one. And then number two, that your offices are in the areas where you're regulated, so that if we do something dodgy with Cyrus, the blockchain brothers, we get arrested immediately, we go to jail, right? So I think that's another really important fact. Well, sorry, Syed, for cutting you off.
and I know, like, recently a lot of people are trying to bring more trust with showing their size of their wallets, but we know that the liabilities does not match. And again, you don't know who's behind the company. And a lot of these big exchanges are showing like, oh, I have $8.8 billion. Yeah, well, that's great, man. But that doesn't mean that you're not going to fly around with that 8.8 billion, or even more, that you don't owe more than $8.8 billion, right? So I think so that's very important. And of course, the track record. A lot of people always being like discrediting Tether and Bitfinex. And Bitfinex is not the most regulatory wise type of exchange. but they've been in the business for a long time. They could have had flu probably away many times. I'm not saying Tether it's completely no risk-free assets, but for example, I own some Tether, and I do trust the people because they've been a long time into the business. They don't have all the best trust score in terms of auditing and all of that, but the track record usually speaks a lot for what we're building. And if people have been in the business for a long time, it doesn't mean they won't go down, but there's probably a good chance that they will go through different market cycles
And
as they have
speaking of
already
audits,
done.
speaking of audits, as he's saying, and I think, guys, the next step, so we put like all our proof of reserves on chain through Nansen, also all the counterparty risks through the yields, everything you can track on chain, whether it's the assets or the actual yield program, it's all verifiable. But I do think, guys, and as you know, the proof of liabilities has been a question for a very long time, the audit as well. So, I always try to tell the traditional finance people that, we can together build something that is really robust in terms of trust. Like, well, first of all, we don't want to trust. We want to don't trust, verify is. Okay, can you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that, the Dubai connection. Yeah, so don't trust, verify. So essentially, obviously we can have all of our wallets on chain. We can have all of our strategies on chain. But now the beauty is, because everyone says, yeah, but you guys, audits are the real, proof or the way to trust. I'm like, no, not at all. Bernie Madoff was audited 2 to 4 times a year, and look what he did, right? And a lot of the people, the big institutions that have really good relationships with the auditors, they're actually notified. I swear to God, guys, I've seen this in Japan where some of the big corporations, they would know the date of the audit or more or less the week, so they can, not necessarily cook the books, but they'll flip things around so that it looks good in front of their investors. So even the audits themselves, there's some shady stuff going on. So, what if all of this can be on chain, guys? Wouldn't that be beautiful? Where everything from the fees to the revenues to the entire P&L to, and then of course be stamped on chain. And then there you go, trust 2.0, right?
Isn't that a DEX? Like, what if everything's on chain? That's the DEX, not a SEX, right?
I think so. We need more and more on chain, and I think so. What Coinbase is building with the new wallets and what we're going, I think so. We need more and more proof that everything's could be on chain. I don't know if we're going to get there yet, of course. I think so. There's always been a combination of sexes and dexes. And I think so that's definitely the next big step. I know, for example, for SwissBorg and how we could offer our services to more people is that eventually we would like to move from not just only handling very well the DeFi into the CeFi, but how we essentially move on to the semi-custodial wallets. And this might be the future. I think so. SwissBorg is where we could finally let anyone on board through SwissBorg do your KYC. If then going to DeFi, going to DEXs, going to gaming, whatever you want, you lose your private key. It doesn't matter. We regenerate your private key. And essentially it's a Swiss foundation that's keeping your identity as well. So you have zero knowledge proof, which enables you really to do cool stuff, but it's at the same time to build a reputation there. So I think so this is really definitely where we love to build more and more ways where you could have an infrastructure that can navigate you through the craziness of Web3, I think so, and the most simple, secure way. So hopefully we'll be heading there, and I think so that will bring even more trust to the industry, and hopefully our parents will be able to do getting to DeFi and all that, because we know that today, what is there's like less than 4 million people that are into DeFi, 4 million wallets that are into DeFi, I think so only.
Yeah.
That's not a lot of people. So yeah, hopefully that could get to 4 billion, with those different services.
Yeah, to be real, I mean, after everything that happened with Sam Bankman-Fried and Caroline, I got a little turned off to sex for a little bit, but I was more into the DEX. But I'm just kidding, guys.